Hello, my friends. I am back, kind of, because I am also pretty ill right now. It was all worth it. Not a lot of sleep always gets me sick, but I am fine, and I'm sure I'll be better tomorrow. I'm back in good shape, I hope, but I'm trying to get some rest and catch up, so I'm going to share today my conversation with Yates Sexton at PodJam last Friday night. It was really good, according to folks who were there, and I think you're going to love it. Got some great questions from a few of you that were in the audience joining us in Vegas, so that is coming up. But I do just want to say I have heard from so many of you, and I plan to share much of what you said, the pictures and the video, all in one place on my website, because there's just so much to share, and I will get it up as soon as I can, of course, on social media. But I've really just been trying to come down from what was by far the greatest experience of my entire career at PodJam. I feel like the comeback is complete. 4 years after losing my gig at Sirius, we've rebuilt, and while we still have a long way to go to keep it sustained, I am just so full. My cup is so full. I am so grateful. It was amazing to meet so many of you, and for you to meet each other, mostly for the first time. It was so special. I cannot thank you enough for coming and for sharing your experience. If you are not an active part of our community, I would invite you. It's never too late. We are not a clique. We always welcome new people. Join us at Thursday night's hangout. If you don't want to be a part of the community, you're just here for the podcast and supporting it and love the conversations with the expert guests I get, great to have you as well. Sorry for talking about it so much, but it's just such a wonderful thing for me and so many others. And so thank you again. I'll share more in the coming days, but I've got to get back in bed. I am hearing from several people that PodJam may have been a super spreader event. So sorry about that. I guess I'm not alone in feeling ill. I've heard from several people. I want to believe it's because none of us slept and our immune systems were more vulnerable. I think that's what happens with me, because I rarely do get sick, but who knows? There was a lot of socializing and talking and probably spitting all over each other, but it was worth it to me. Absolutely. Hopefully nobody is severely ill or anything, but sorry about that. If you got sick, it's not my fault. I blame Christian Finnegan. I am very excited to share my conversation with Jared. He, of course, is the host of the Muckrake podcast. Well, you know what? The intro is in there, so let me just let it rip. This is over an hour, and it's somewhat entertaining to hear me get drunker as we go, because this is part of Jared's Bourbon Talk series where he sits and drinks. I don't really do that on a microphone, so you can hear my words get slurrier as we go on this Friday night. It was a great time had by all. I hope you appreciate it, and definitely the last half of it is super special and personal, so I hope that you will listen to all of it, and you bumblebees at the end, I know you will, because you always do. But technically, we were in a circus tent, and it was quite vacuous, and the audience wasn't mic'd, so it doesn't sound like there's a lot of people there, but there was a lot of people there on Friday night, and they were amazing energy. You guys were just the best, so you can hear them. But it's just wanted to mention that technical. I didn't have the audience mic. It was just Jared and I, and they're directional mics, and that's how it works. If you know, you know. Jared Yates Sexton from the first ever PodJam right now.
Put your hands together, everybody. Come on. Get some energy in this room. Give it up. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, so happy to have you all here tonight, and I'm really happy and feel very fortunate that Jared Yates Sexton is joining us this weekend and tonight exclusively. Of course, you guys know him because you listen to him on our show, and of course you listen to him hosting the Muckrake podcast, which he will be taping tomorrow right here at 4 p.m., But most importantly, to introduce my good friend Jared. He's a political analyst. He's an author, most recently, of the book The Midnight Kingdom, A History of Power, Paranoia, and the Coming Crisis. He's also, of course, wrote American Rule, How a Nation Conquered the World but Failed Its People. He's the co-host of the Muckrake podcast. You can find his writing on his Substack at Dispatches from a Collapsing State, and he drove all the way to Vegas to join us and hang out with us this weekend. We've got whiskey, we've got bourbon. I think they're the same. He will correct me. Give it up for Jared Yates Sexton, everybody. Come on. Come on. Keep it going. Look at him. That's him. That's what he looks like. Have a seat, sir. Salutes. What do you have? You have a knife in your pocket?
Phone.
Oh, a phone. All right.
Cheers.
Say hi to everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers, everybody.
All I wanted to do was not fall. Because if you fall coming out of the curtain, you never get back.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep. You made it out smoothly and you look great, and thank you very much for joining.
You look great.
We've never met until tonight in person.
Can I tell you a secret?
Go ahead.
Very attracted to you.
Can I tell you a secret?
I can't wait.
I'm also attracted to you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Not like mostly your personality. Yeah. You're a little tall for me. I like a small man. I'm going to keep going with that joke. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm really happy that you're in my life. I'm really happy that I found your work. I'm really happy and feel privileged that we've been able to have so many conversations. And I'm really happy that more and more people learn about your work. And most importantly to me, you're one of the most passionate, righteous people I've ever met. And to some extent, some of your early work about masculinity and your memoir is some of the most important to me. So I said all of that without eye contact. But here I am. I've returned to you.
I am going to drop the wall of masculinity and not cry in front of you in the first 2 minutes of us doing it. That was very kind of you. Also, by the way, Pete Dominic for bringing all this stuff together.
Yes. Yeah,
I am so excited for the next 2 days, and I get to hang out with my friend Pete for the first time in person in front of you.
I'm actually booked.
Oh,
I'm hanging out with these
That's the story
guys.
of my life.
No, I've got to go to the Hoover Dam for 5 minutes. Have you been there?
I drove by.
Yeah, can I tell you? They built it up a lot, both literally and figuratively. You know, it's a lot.
You know, it actually made me feel like America used to build things.
Oh, let's start there.
I drove by it and I was like, wow, empires in decline are very sad. Very sad.
Is the Hoover Dam itself in decline?
Oh, no, it's still there. It will be there after we're gone.
Absolutely.
It's very impressive.
But you know what won't be? The Colorado River. Yeah, very disputed.
Man, this is very emotional all over the place already.
That's how we do it on the show and in general. But I wanted to start, if I thought about some of the scripted questions I did think about, by talking just a little bit about your origin story for this special event that we're doing here this weekend. You'll be taping the Muckrake podcast tomorrow. You're doing all kinds of really cool things now. But you were an academic. You're a creative writing professor, and you wrote American Rule. You'd written a book before that, obviously, that I already mentioned, but you got actually really well known on Twitter. You had to have a massive following on Twitter. Where did you really get put on the map for us? How did I find you?
I have a weird background. I don't know if there's any other way to say it. I was a writer, and in 2015, 2016, I was writing a big, giant novel. I think it was up around 600 pages with no end in sight. And I was like, no, this isn't actually a piece of art. This is like an existential crisis. And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go follow the political trail. And I thought it was going to be boring as shit. I thought it was going to be Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Just the most technocratic, bloodless election that you've ever seen. And I went to all these events and stuff, and I was just going to write this book with this little independent publishing house. And then I went to a Donald Trump rally, and I was like, hey, everybody, something's going on here, and it's bad. And at that point, I think you remember this, that was at the point where he was still being covered in the entertainment section of newspapers and websites. They didn't take him seriously.
There's a clip of me on CNN saying to all of these fine people and 12 more, Donald Trump will never be president. So I'm who you're criticizing. I was on CNN saying that.
Yeah, but I think you're making up for it.
Laughing. I've made up for it. Thank you.
I think you've made up for it. And I think that's the part of it is I think for a while everyone was in this sort of violent denial of it. And somehow or another I went viral telling people it was a bad situation and it was really, really dangerous. And it kind of went from there. I've just been playing catch up since then. So everything I write and every time we talk and everything, it's just me. I got thrown into the deep end of the pool. And my life has just been completely turned upside down at that point. But, I ended up here, so it's okay.
Yeah, this was not the plan.
This was not the plan, no. My life has taken a turn I did not expect.
You grew up in Indiana, Illinois.
What?
A state that begins with I. I'm prepared. I have
how many other states are you going to go through before you get to the actual state that I'm from?
It says here that you're Samoan.
I am a very proud Hoosier, my friend. I'm from the great state of Indiana.
Did I not say Indiana first?
Cheers.
Yes, there are some
Hoosiers are everywhere.
And life growing up, we've talked about it, and I think it's important to your story, but not
great.
Not great.
No, bad. I would say bad. I grew up really, really poor in a bunch of abusive households in like an evangelical, like apocalyptic conspiracy theory cult, or also known as Baptist. And so what has actually happened is, as the rest of the country has gotten introduced to my extreme, unhinged neighbors, friends, and family, I've been like, welcome to the party. That's what this is. So yeah, I come from the background that MAGA's from.
So you understand them. You don't need reporters to tell you what they think about, because you are them. You also embedded as a journalist, as you mentioned, with them. You're not confused as to what they think.
It's hard to paint with a broad brush all of it, but I understand the milieu of it. Yeah. Like this was something, what we're dealing with right now was something that was, I think you could find it in every community across the country. I think authoritarianism is a disease of the heart. I think humanity fights it constantly. But there are places where you get a more in-depth, close-up view of it. And southern Indiana is one of the places you can get yourself an eyeful, for sure.
Authoritarianism is a disease of the heart. That's a comment on humanity in general. It's not necessarily American. It's... Yep. You think that's
I think one of the biggest disservices we've ever done to ourselves is convincing ourselves that America destroyed fascism and authoritarianism in the 1940s, right? And then it was a phenomenon relegated to Western Europe, particularly Italy and Germany and a couple of other pockets, including Spain.
I'm familiar with it because I've just watched Spielberg's Masters of the Air.
You were the one. That's incredible.
How?
That sounds made up.
You come into here.
That sounds made up. That's not a real series, is it?
You insulted the Greatest Generation and Spielberg and Hanks. But go ahead with your point.
So I'll just say that, unfortunately, authoritarianism is throughout human history. It just so happens that, like, sometimes it's beat down, sometimes it's up. And right now it's up. That's the terrible part of this. It's up and it's everywhere, and we're, like, dealing with it on a daily basis now.
One of the things that's always a weird thing is how many people who listen to my show are pro-authoritarian. Mm-hmm. A lot of these people. What'd I tell you?
I feel like I did not sign up for the right event. My fight or flight is now taking over.
There's pizza and bourbon. Stay.
I'll stay for that. That's fine.
So in terms of the appeal of it, say a little bit more. I think the best thing about your work is how deep of a dive, especially with your recent book, you've gone into specifically American history's fascination with authoritarianism, which I didn't really have a great understanding of because I don't think we learned it.
As American as apple pie. America has dealt with one authoritarian movement after another, and we've always been on the brink of like full-blown authoritarianism. And I want to break this down because one of the things that we can do is we can start this, conversation off and we can be very black and white about it, or we can be more understanding. The point is, shit doesn't work right now. It's bad, right? Our institutions are rotten. They are falling apart. They're crumbling. I want things to get better. You do as well, correct? Yeah.
For me.
How do you feel about November? I know we're going to talk about this, but how's your heart and soul feel about November right now?
People that know me know that I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist.
Sure.
James Baldwin says, I'm alive, so I have to be an optimist.
So you're feeling pretty bad about,
me misquoting James Baldwin? Yeah, but I almost got it. I know. I always think everything's going to turn out okay. And I don't, and now just to answer your question, I do not think Donald Trump will win the I absolutely believe Joe Biden will. The only thing that holds me back is that he's so old that anything can happen to a person that age, and these people hate my ageism. They hate me for it.
I don't think. Okay, so real fast to go ahead and make my broader point. The appeal of authoritarianism is when I wake up in November, that Tuesday in November, I'm going to wake up with a stomachache. You know what I mean? I'm going to feel really
election
bad.
Day.
Election day. I'm going to feel like shit. Man, it would feel good to not feel like shit and not have to worry about that, right? I wish that what I wanted could be done, right? Without any checks or balances, without any of these other people I disagree with.
We all do.
Yeah, right. And so there is an inherent appeal when things are bad, when you check the news and you're like, oh my God, the people I voted for and the people I agree with, even they are doing things that I deeply disagree with. You want something, right? You need something. And in our heart of hearts, there are parts of us, and this is the thing, and I'll get back to the question about November in a second. You look at somebody like Donald Trump, I think one of the reasons why we hate him so much is because he reflects the worst parts of ourselves. You know what I mean? We see ourselves as like venal or selfish or the things we think when no one's around and we would never admit to. And like that appeals to a lot of people, because it's like their worst instincts. Sometimes it feels way better to be angry and crush other people than it does to be vulnerable or scared or anxious. And there is an appeal there. And that as a result,
maybe not for everybody here. But definitely for a lot of people.
Right, but I
don't relate to that, but I know.
Do you know what I mean, though?
A lot of men do.
And I think there are a lot of people who would just really rather things got put to right and they wouldn't have to worry about elections anymore. They wouldn't have to worry about dissent. They wouldn't have to worry about, listen, they can't even handle the fact that Taylor Swift is like incredibly popular. They have to create a conspiracy theory about it.
I can't either, to be honest with you.
But my point here is, and this is what's scary, you brought up November, I think Donald Trump's going to be defeated electorally. I will say, at any given moment, we are rolling the dice with a president that something could happen to him.
Yeah.
And that's scary. And then my final point on this, we talked about this a little bit before we got out here. You said, what am I afraid of? I don't know that elections matter anymore. 2020 showed us it doesn't matter if you win by millions and you have a huge electoral victory. We have already created a situation where all these billionaire-backed right-wing institutions and institutes and think tanks have already created a legal framework to overthrow elections. We've also seen that you can attempt to overthrow the government and not a lot is done to you. And that's what scares me, is that we've entered into a new territory where the votes don't particularly matter.
I feel like you and I have always had a slight disagreement on I have a lot more faith on elected Democrats. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's because I'm part of the machine, honestly, from the local all the way up to the state and the national. And I know a lot of people, mm-hmm. Congress people, and I maybe I'm naive and I believe in them. But when I started this, I was cynical and I was independent, and I always like to say I'm not a Democrat. I was always a leftist or a progressive or whatever you want to say, but I didn't believe in party politics. I believe in the Democratic Party today, understandingly knowing that we're working in a fucked up system with all the money in the world and understanding a certain realism about politics. But I believe that the progressive Democrats in the House and some in the Senate are doing really important work. And I would even argue that I wouldn't have said this. I suppose I said it about Barack Obama, but I think Joe Biden has been a great president. Mm-hmm. And maybe we see things differently, and maybe we have different prism. But are you more cynical than me, or are you more a realist than me? Do I just think the glass is always half full and you think it's half empty? Or is there a concrete disagreement on AOC and Jasmine Crockett and Jamie Raskin and effective House members from the J6 committee, mm-hmm. much less senators like Sheldon Whitehouse?
I think I would take issue with the framing of it.
How dare you come in here?
I am not more cynical.
Circus and take issue with the framing of my question. You know what?
I'm sorry.
Leave the bourbon and go.
I brought the bourbon.
You brought that?
I brought the bourbon.
Stay and answer the question.
There we go. So I would say this. I am actually really an optimist. I understand. I bum people out.
Have you met you?
I bum people out. I know I do. I'm sorry.
Let me just read your Substack.
Dude, we're going to hang out later and have drinks, and people are going to find I'm very happy-go-lucky.
Dispatches from a collapsing state by an optimist. Go ahead, make the case.
I happen to believe that out of destruction comes great beauty.
You're in Vegas saying that.
So I would argue this. It's not that I think there are a lot of people, like a space like Twitter. It's very easy to be reductive, right? The easiest thing in the world. You only have so many characters to do it. I don't think that every Democrat is like paid off and corrupted and, in on like a big giant scheme. I don't believe that. My larger problem goes beyond the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. It has to do with the fact that our institutions are so riven through with a particular type of ideology, an administrative momentum, right? So, for instance, you brought up Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden has been one of the most effective presidents that we've ever seen.
Give it up.
That being said, you have a soundboard?
If you bomb, you know you don't have a mic, Gareth.
I did not expect a soundboard. I don't know what to do right now. I need more bourbon.
Understandable.
So I would say that in truth, again, I think Joe Biden has been an incredibly effective president in a lot of regards. I think he has failed miserably in a lot of other regards. I don't think that is about him. I actually think the American presidency has been depowered for a variety of reasons.
Right, it's the presidency itself. It's
so
the executive branch.
It does not matter necessarily in certain ways. Yes, if the Democrats are in charge, you're going to have less authoritarianism, less hatred, less oppression, right? If the Republican...
You have women.
Right. So I'm sorry, but we haven't codified Roe. We haven't worked beyond the filibuster.
But that's Congress.
Yeah, but isn't it weird how the Democratic Party always has that one thing in the way that keeps them from doing it?
This is where we disagree.
But here's my point.
Go ahead.
Let me go deeper. My point is this. I think the Democratic Party, the members and the representatives, I believe their intentions are good. I think at their hearts, they're institutionalist. So, for instance, one of the problems we have right now is the Supreme Court, right?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay. The Supreme Court, am I wrong? The Supreme Court was stolen, correct?
Who's with it?
Okay.
No, Pico. He says it's legitimate.
Totally stolen.
Well, just to be clear,
so here's the point.
In the tank for Amy Coney Barrett.
We have ways to deal with this. It turns out institutionally, you can add justices to the Supreme Court. We've seen it done before.
You want to pack the court.
Oh, absolutely. I want to pack the court.
I do too. Never going to happen.
But here's the point, Pete.
This is America.
No, here's the point, Pete.
FDR tried.
It's talking about packing the court.
Right. I do agree with that.
That's the thing.
It's just you, Elie Mystal, and one other.
Biden doesn't use the bully pulpit. Because deep in his heart, he's an institutionalist. He's been in Congress for 50 years. He does not believe that there needs to be large structural changes. The entire point is the Democratic Party, because the Republican Party has become so batshit crazy, has had to become conservative in how they operate. They want to protect what we have. It's not about moving forward. It's not about engaging in certain things. My point is this. I'm actually very optimistic. And I know that I sound doom and gloom and prophet of doom shit, but deep down, I think it's going to get worked out. I just think the way that we sort of view how this stuff sort of operates itself a little bit different. I think that's where that comes.
How much do you think media is influential? I have always believed that everything is broken because our media is so fragmented, and one could argue there's too much speech. But if you look at Canada, how is it pronounced?
Canada.
They have, if you look at Canada, or the UK, or even certain Asian Arab countries, and the way their media is regulated, we're seeing right now what I've been screaming about forever. Republicans today, I read the news for 5 minutes, are demanding, Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling Mike Johnson, Christian nationalist, great American, to the carpet, basically, procedurally, and no, she doesn't have any faith in the Speaker of the House.
Sure. Me too. I agree. Me and Marjorie, same team on that one.
Hey.
Yeah, me and Marjorie, same page.
The point being,
Republicans, the point I'm trying to make is that I've realized forever that Republicans in power can never do what the radio hosts are demanding they do, because they're not living in a world where governance has to happen and compromise has to happen. You have to get the votes to repeal Obamacare. You can yell about it on the radio for 10 years on right-wing radio, but in the end, when you get Trump and a whole bunch of right-wing Republicans, you can't actually take something from people that they love. Sure. And that's happening right now. And so my bigger question to you is media's influence in general, and you're seeing it literally, this is the example I'm using, play out, as they demand that this person, who is the furthest to the right we've ever seen, just an extremist, Mike Johnson, I mean, I'm sure he's really nice to his family, is being called to the carpet by Marjorie. Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling Mike Johnson out. Where are we?
Well, so first of all, with the media, I want to say that one of the larger problems is, with that momentum I was talking about earlier, our government has more or less been taken over by special interest. It's been taken over by billionaires and millionaires who have just completely rigged the process. As that has happened, and as government has become less representative, our news has become more entertainment-based. It's much more court policies, right? Like, it's who's in, who's out, who's winning, who's losing. And those rumors and entertainments, like, it's perfect for, like, who's the hero of the week, who's the loser of the week. It's not substantive, which, by the way, is one of the reasons why I appreciate you, is that you have informed people. And by the way, I want to point out that the most substantive, informative stuff is now in podcasting.
Right.
That's wild, right?
YouTube and Substack.
We are literally here because we are an independent group outside of the main corporate media structure.
Well, I appear on CNN and
MSNBC. Well, me too, every now and then, you know. They'll have me on at 11:30, you know. But the entire point is...
I'll get that taken care of.
That they have become... It's professional wrestling.
Yeah.
They're not at all... They're not interested in informing anybody and moving discourse. What they do is they change the soap opera narrative of politics. And by the way, people are really into that. Like, that moves clicks, that leads to retweets and likes. What you just brought up, though, is really important, which is that the Republican Party is led around by the nose by a bunch of extreme radio hosts, podcast hosts, and influencers who are not serious people. The Republican Party is not a serious political party. They're a public relations front for their donors. Their donors are doing the real damage, Supreme Court as well. The Republican Party is a clown show, and it makes them a ton of money. Like, the reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing this is because, we talked about this, it gets her in the news, and also it goes ahead and makes sure she's going to make a ton of money, and, you know, they'll sacrifice Mike Johnson on the altar of, you know, Baptist, and then we'll move forward. But what it is it's entertainment. It has actually nothing to do with the news or information or anything else. And it's actually left us incredibly vulnerable. And I don't know if you've all heard this, basically every platform is demonetizing news. They're de-emphasizing it. They're taking it out. They're not going to look at it anymore. Social media doesn't want anything to do with news. It hurts ad revenue. Like, what is actually happening is the journalism in this country has been murdered. And it's bled out in front of us. And what we have left now is a bunch of people, yourself included, who are going out, giving information, and actually talking about what's going on, as opposed to other people who are peddling candy. That's all it is. It's cotton candy, and it has nothing to do with the actual...
Well, they would have filled this fucking tent.
Oh, my God. We would have been in the Mountain Dew Baja Blast tent, is what we would have been.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds happening.
It's physics.
It sounds amazing. X Games amazing. And that is the truth. Nuance is dead. And there's a few of us that want to continue to have these thoughtful conversations and talk to people who know what the hell they're talking about.
And I just want to say one quick thing. You had brought up...
Not enough people is what I'm saying.
Well, and you had brought up, like, how in other countries it's different. In America, like, deregulation, Reaganism, all of that in the 1980s, 1990s, it allowed all these big, giant corporate mergers to happen. Yeah. So you don't have alternatives. And on top of that... like, you have the wealthiest people in the world who now control the flow of information. If you think that Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post in order to inform people, I have another story for you. Like, what has actually happened is we have a media ecosystem that is not serious, and it's not interested in looking at the actual problems of what's going on. And as a result, we're uninformed and we're incredibly vulnerable for what's coming.
You're talking to a Washington Post subscriber. I like the Washington Post. I heard
democracy dies in the darkness.
Well, you know, I'll sit here and defend a lot of the big corporate media, and then I'll shit on them. So I'll go on MSNBC, and then today I found out that they hired Ronna McDaniel.
Oh, couldn't happen to a better person.
And it's like the idea of that I think Julia Yaffe talked about something, she covers Russia and she's amazing at Puck News. And she said, NBC News hired Ronna McDaniel. Yep. The idea that you would hire someone who is ushering in fascism.
She literally tried to help a coup attempt.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But,
yes.
Well, she's got a new deal.
No, I'm sure she'll be great on TV next to Michael Steele. I'm sure there'll be dynamite.
How many days or weeks or months are there till the election, and how are you thinking about it as we get closer? We have the summer and the RNC and DNC, and, again, what I've learned in life, much less in politics, is uncertainty is a real motherfucker. Yep. It's really bothersome. It really creates a lot of stress and anxiety in your personal life, not knowing what's going to happen. The pandemic instructed us. But this election is filled with uncertainty. So anything we talk about this far away, obviously, take it with a grain of salt. But still, if the process plays out with the time remaining, what are you paying attention to most? And in a minute here, I'm going to turn over to questions. So if you have any, think about them.
I'll say this. What concerns me is not only is this going to be an extreme election, like as it's been built up over the past few years, it's going to be a long election. Trump has already won the nomination. We are now looking at 8 months of uninterrupted campaigning.
How many days can someone look up?
Too many. Way too many.
No, I hear what you're saying.
And by the way, it's already at a fever pitch.
Yeah, because every day it's flooded, the zone is flooded with shit.
Every day the zone isn't just flooded with shit, it's shit on top of shit.
Trying to even as in media, if you're a journalist trying to pay attention just to the Trump legal cases, you can't. Even if you're Glenn Kirshner, it's hard to keep up.
I will say this. What I am looking at is this. And unfortunately, this is what I do and this is how I work. Like, Trump has all of these legal cases, right? I mean, he's about to have property seized. I mean, if the Saudis don't bail him out, which we'll talk about tomorrow on the Muckrake podcast. Isn't that amazing that the maybe future president of the United States might be totally open to bribes from foreign governments, by the way?
Well, we've been dealing with them 9 years.
We've been dealing with that for years.
Yeah.
So
I was on The Apprentice in 2004, season finale. Really put me on the map in the New York comedy scene. But what were you saying?
I was saying the radicalization of this election is already so over the top. And do I think Donald Trump should be held accountable for his crimes? Absolutely.
You do?
I do. But with every crime that he's held accountable to, the temperature goes up in the country, right? Because...
Yeah, I think that's right.
Because he's persecuted, right?
He's a martyr.
The deep state is after Donald Trump. So every time that this happens, the temperature goes up and up and up. And faith in the institutions goes down and down and down. So what is actually occurring right now is we're moving into just an intertwining cycle of radicalization. What I'm looking for is the signals underneath. And the Republican Party's already made it very clear. They don't want to accept the results of the election, and they're already talking about overthrowing the government and the need to lead to some dictatorship. They've told us what they want. You know what I mean? They've made it very clear what they want and how they want to do it. The question now is, will the rest of us get hip to that? And I don't know how you feel about it. The media is not doing a great job. The Democratic Party doesn't seem like it's prepared for what's coming. And
I think I disagree.
How so?
I think that the standard for that needs to be always set. The Democratic Party always has to react to crazy, and we can't. And I speak from really personal, intimate experience to that. When I go to these school board meetings and my adversary comes up and says the moon is made of cheese, I'm like, I don't know how to respond. I don't know. He just said the moon's made of cheese. The Democratic Party has to respond to.
Can I answer that?
No, we're out of time.
I have to say,
we have to go to commercial.
First of all, I love that you have an adversary. That's wonderful.
Can I tell you what's even worse about it? My adversary's name, Pete. And so
he's the dark Pete. Here's my point with what you just said, which is exactly what needs to happen. The Democratic Party needs to stop reacting. The Democratic Party needs to explain what the future could be like. Quit talking about litter boxes in kindergarten rooms, right?
Tomorrow we're going to be talking about that for 5 podcasts.
That's right. Nothing but litter boxes in kindergarten classrooms.
Folks,
thanks for coming, guys.
I fought, sorry. They were like, PodJam, great name. I'm like, how about litter boxes?
Litter box kindergarten. No, they need to stop dealing with that because, quite frankly, the Republican Party is doing a good enough job disqualifying itself. It's historically unpopular. It's unhinged to a level that makes people uncomfortable. Katie Britt could not be reached for comment, right? They are so off-putting. The Democratic Party needs to stop dealing with that. They need to say, hey, by the way, this is anti-democratic, this is authoritarian, it's dangerous. Don't vote for that. You don't want to anyway. Here's where we're taking you. And they have not articulated that yet. In every meeting that I'm in with Democratic strategists, there are people screaming, you have to articulate a vision for the future, which, by the way, I do think that Biden started doing with the State of the Union. And I'm hoping that people are starting to get through to him, which is not how his shop operates. But my feeling is it's starting to move in that direction, which is one of the reasons why I feel optimistic.
How worried about, this is my last question, then if anybody has any questions, we'll go to it. And if you don't, then I'll have more. How concerned are you about what you see playing out with, say, the Middle East affecting domestic politics? What's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, and how that affects the domestic vote, the Democratic vote?
Huge. It's a huge effect. Right now, Michigan is radioactive for the Democratic Party. Joe Biden right now is not even really neck and neck in Michigan. There's a possibility that Georgia and Minnesota might fall behind as well. The reaction to Israel and Gaza has been clumsy at best and damning at worst. And so what has actually happened at this point, and this goes back to what we were beginning to talk about, the presidency being depowered. What do you do when you're the most powerful nation in the world and one of your client states won't do what you tell them to do?
Well said.
Right. So at that point, are you going to go ahead and take the double burn and not send them weapons and then basically be shown off as, being disloyal? It's a nasty situation. I would also make the argument, and this is what I'm worried about going into November, economic problems that could jump up, the possibility of Ukraine being lost, which is a possibility, Israel, Gaza getting worse. And by the way, the fact is that China, Russia, and their entire alternative to the United States wants Donald Trump to be elected president. And they are very interested in hurting the American empire. So at any given moment, you could have an event that we couldn't even predict right now. I mean, Taiwan, who even knows? Taiwan could be invaded, or there could be overtures towards that. The whole point is that going into November, we have no idea what's going to happen. It's so far away at this point. There are so many variables on the board. It's almost impossible to even begin predicting what's going to happen.
I think that we are in a business where we make money talking about what might happen. And I think that your last point is really, if I'm being honest with the people here who all pay me, we don't know. We're filling. You're absolutely right. We really just don't. So much can happen. We'll keep trying to analyze it and think about it and talk about it, and we appreciate that we're fighting apathy and thinking about it. But that is probably the most salient point that we can make every day, no matter where we're talking. We really don't know what might happen.
I want to make one point
because April 8th, there's going to be a solar goddamn eclipse.
I can't wait.
And where are you going to be? I'll tell you where I'm going to be. I'll be in a shed.
That's where you always are.
That's accurate.
But I want to say real fast on that point.
I've not gotten COVID.
Because you're right.
But the PodJam's going to change that.
We are up here talking large picture politics. We can't tell you what's going to happen in November or what's going to happen up to it. All we can say is this, and I think this is important. We're watching this, we're analyzing this, we're reacting to this. It's important that individuals are going to get involved. That's what's going to change things.
Absolutely.
So we can say, oh my God, I hope this happens in Trump's case. Oh my God, I hope this happens in November. You have no control over that outside of voting, right? That's all you can do. But that is the least amount of democratic participation that we can have. We need to go out, we need to organize, meet other people who feel like-minded, we need to build up structures, all that stuff. It is not just relying on the Democratic Party, it's creating the change also, not just in your community, yourself. We have a lot of healing that we need to do, we have a lot of changing we need to do. Waiting around and being anxious about what's going to happen in November really doesn't serve anybody, right? Because it's going to happen or it's not. All we can do is change ourselves and our communities. That's it.
I want to applaud that because I know that I think for me, the thing that I am most proud of is that I've really tried to be the change I want to see in the world. And when I talked about sustainability and climate and environmentalism at SiriusXM, I then went and bought a 2010 Chevy Volt and got solar panels, and I tried to be that guy.
Sure.
I thought about running for office. Folks that know me well know I ran for 7 days.
I overpromise and underdeliver. But there are people here. Susie Hovman is here tonight, and I don't know if Sheila's here tonight, but like there are people that have either put their name on the ballot and run for office, or they have supported a campaign. And to me, what you just said and your advice and what we need to do, and I hate to say this to people our age, older in our generation or adjacent, I hate to say this, but I have to say it. It's sad and true, but we are the ones we've been waiting for. Yep. And I didn't want that. I thought we were good. I thought we were past it. We passed gay marriage and the Voting Rights Act in 1960, whatever. And I can't believe I thought all the civil rights stuff that we read about was the past. And now we have to fight that, but I don't want to because my life is pretty good. I have it good. I don't want anybody to call CPS on me or threaten my daughter. Right. I don't want any of that. I am a white, liberal, powerful man. Can I just sail?
You're so powerful.
I'm so powerful. I have so much power.
It's radiating off of you.
I go to a PTA meeting for the people who actually like step up and run for office and actually do stuff or much less support people who are. That's what you're saying. Like you can't watch it happen. You have to be part of it.
Well,
and I wasn't prepared to be part of it. I thought I was going to be talking about it.
Well, if we can be, so I have a couple of points, but before I make them, I want to say, and I want to be very honest here. I'm proud of you. We talked about this. No, it's true.
Dad?
No. We talked about it before you started getting into the public arena. Like, it is one thing. And by the way, I want to, can we be vulnerable? Is that cool?
No.
Okay.
I'll cross my legs. I have short socks on.
So here's one of the reasons why I was actually excited to be here. There are a lot of people making a lot of money recording podcasts, posting, monetizing social media, all of that. And they do it by telling people what they want to hear, right? Like, how many true crime Trump people are there? You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't believe what happened in court today, right? There's a lot of that. Or the walls are closing in. And the whole point of what I'm getting ready to say is this. I think what you've done with your podcast and with your community and what we try and do with the Muckrake podcast as well is we fucking mean it, right? It's not a grift. It's not a business. And the whole point of it is this. I want intimacy. I want to talk to other people. I want to know that they care. I want them to know that I care. And I want them to know that, like, I want their family to have a better life. I want them to have a better future. And that involves running for office. That involves helping your community. That involves changing yourself. Because quite frankly, and we can't get too deep in the weeds, capitalism, neoliberalism, whatever we want to call it, has stricken us. It's made us
I drove in here on Route 11 and I looked at capitalism.
It's out there.
Vegas people.
It's out there. And it's changed us and it's hurt us in a lot of different ways that we have to heal from. But my point is this. We can vote against Donald Trump in November, right? And we absolutely should.
I will.
And we will. And the whole point is we can vote against him, and God willing, he's defeated, and they don't take over the government. There is a problem that created Donald Trump. He is a symptom of a larger disease. And what you just said is really important. I wish that I didn't have to do this. You know, I love you. I do. And y'all are beautiful and you're already lovely, the people that I've met. I can't wait to meet
some of them. Have you seen Pete?
My point is this. I wish this wasn't my job. I wish I didn't have to deal with this. I talked to you. My family's been harassed. They've been stalked. I don't want this to happen. It would be so much easier to drop out of it and not deal with it anymore. You know, and that's an option that a lot of people have. And if you look throughout history, authoritarianism, it takes over not just when the jackboots are marching down the square. It takes over when people start shutting their doors and fighting back. Then they stop fighting back.
I think that's how things happen. I haven't shared this with anybody. I don't think anybody here. But I talked a little bit about the last board meeting and how I didn't even speak. I was just there, and some lady attacked me and said I was like filming her daughter and followed me out. And that night on Snapchat, you know what that is? Kids use it. Yeah. Some girl made a snap. Is that how you see it?
Sure.
And she said, Julia Dominic, reel your dad in or we're coming for you.
Yeah.
And then you say, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because she didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
As a good parent, I think you say, let her deal with it. What's she going to do? Mm-hmm. You know, she snapped that girl back. She's like, I'm right here. Come for me.
That's good. Cheers.
And then she said, who the fuck are you? I'm Julia Dominic. She didn't say that, but I told her to snap that, but she was like, I'm not snapping that. Why would I do that, you arrogant prick? My larger point is you go out there and you try to be the change that you want to see, and I think the elephant in this room, it's a circus tent. There's two white guys up here. There's two straight, you're straight-ish. Steam room 93, me too. But the point is, like, if we're not the head, we're the problem, we have to fix the problem.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why I invited you here. Because I'm not going to invite a woman or a gay person or a person of color to come up here to fix the problem. Like, I wanted you to be here because we're most effective at talking to, let's be clear, like a lot of white straight guys.
Yeah.
And that's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And like all the men that are here, I think get that. Except for Rob Dog. But I'm
going to say something. I know this is going to shock you. I know it's going to shock all of you. White men are not okay.
Oh, no.
They're not okay.
On today's episode of Stand Up, I interview a psychologist who works with adolescents who has written a book about boys.
It's bad.
I know.
It's bad.
Yeah, and anybody who has a parent knows.
And here's the thing, and like through all my research in history and into authoritarianism, I know this is going to shock you. It's a bunch of white guys who are putting on the armbands and marching through the square. Like, it's what it is.
Yeah.
And
white people march.
They like to march.
They like to march.
They like to march, and they like to break into people's homes. It's bad, and it is a crisis, and that is the point.
It is.
Like, you either, quite frankly, and I mean this, I'm not trying to like sound the alarms, but it's true. You either deal with this or it takes over. That's it.
Yep.
And that's where we're at. And you either destroy it now or it destroys you. That's the choice. And that's literally all we have to do.
I think that's well said, and I think it's stark.
Yep.
Let's do a round of applause for Jared. And now, for anybody that wants to make a statement or ask a question on that microphone, go ahead if you'd like to. If not, I'm going to ask Jared 2 more questions, and then we're going to hang out. What a surprise. What a fucking shock.
I know.
You're going to drink them both?
Well, I'm just wondering why you poured them into 2 cups for me.
Oh.
There's a mic? Oh. I do have it down. Mike,
we're ready.
Give it up for Mike and Cassie. Literally, that guy right there solves problems in seconds. Unbelievable. Is it on now?
Check. Oh, it's beautiful.
Now it's the bourbon talk. I like it. Yeah.
Long-time listener, first-time attendee.
Can you give one of those to somebody? It looks weird. Give it to Nick.
What do we realistically think if the 2 of you are right and Donald Trump is defeated at the ballot box? What do we realistically think? And I know you just said you don't predict stuff. Do we honestly believe another J6 is going to happen? Will it be something less effectual? Will it be something worse? What do you truly believe is the most likely reaction, I guess, after the election is over, if that's the result?
Do you want to start or me?
Well, I would say the most accurate prediction is that about an hour you'll be louder. But just as smart with that question, you can answer it.
So I think here's the thing that it's the dot that hasn't been connected. Going back to 2020, all of these fake state contesting of the election, right? When they were going in and taking all of the ballot machines and all of that stuff. I don't think it was about winning 2020. I think it was about learning how far you could go, what you could do with the machinery, how you can mess around with it. What I'm most concerned about isn't necessarily another January 6th, although scattered violence is almost assured, no matter what happens. What I'm worried about is that the Republican Party and their donors have created basically, I hate calling them red states because they're not red, right? They're states that have more Republican voters or more suppressed Democratic voters. Moving on. Those states, I think, learn from 2020, and I think they're going to contest whatever happens. And I think we're going to look at a constitutional crisis. And as the constitutional crisis starts to grow, here's the thing. I'm so old that I remember the election of 2000. It was bad. I don't know if people know this. The Republican Party, which, by the way, like all of our Never Trump Republican friends say this just happened, right? Donald Trump came out of nowhere. They were the same people who stole an election in 2000. I am very worried that they are going to create a situation where something like that could happen again. And as my entire point is, getting out the vote's important, but also you have to think like these people. You have to war game it. You have to strategize it. Every time I talk to a Democratic strategist, I'm like, send the word up there. Like, you have to be ready for literally everything to be thrown at you because they are not going to accept any result, period.
It's a great question, Matt. It's a really important, relevant question. And if you're asking me, I would say everything's going to be fine.
It'll be great. It'll be a good time.
Be good. I live in a cul-de-sac.
Hi.
That is the Sandman.
Sandman.
Friedman. You're on the air.
Very long time listener. So I've heard most of, if not all of your appearances, so I wanted to ask a question you've never been asked about the branding of your podcast and why you call it Muckrake and how that influences what you do. And a second related but different question is there any way to make policy discussions interesting enough for a mass audience?
Okay, so first of all, two great questions.
Say the policies of modern monetary theory.
No.
So, first of all, it's called the Muckrake Podcast because, listen, by the way, any Muckrake listeners in the crowd?
Oh, look at that. How about it?
Thank you. We are a special breed of people, and we're interested in shit that makes people uncomfortable. This is not like the happiest-go-lucky podcast. And the Muckrake reporters of the early 20th century, they were the independent reporters that went after the monopolies and the trust. They were the ones who talked about shit that nobody wanted to talk about. And they're like, oh, you don't want to hear about children being ground up in gears. Well, let's talk about it. So when we started doing this, one of the things that Nick Hauselman and I agreed to do was we were going to have a podcast that was occasionally going to be unpleasant. And the funny thing is, it's a self-selecting group of people. Eventually sometime people are like, I don't know if I can listen to this anymore. It's like, best of luck. Take care of yourself. The second thing, I have to tell you, and maybe this is the neurodivergent part of me, I think policy discussion is actually fascinating. Like how power works.
So does he, but how do we make other people feel that way? I think.
Well, here's the entire point.
It's so much better. Jesse Waters gets millions of viewers, and we don't.
Yeah, Jesse Walker is an absolute creep.
Oh, don't get me started. But he's the go-to. So it serves his point.
Here's the entire point, though. Is I actually think, going back, and this reminded me of something that I didn't answer from your earlier question, but it works with this one. For the longest time, we were told from the 90s into the 2000s, even up to 2016, we were told, hey, don't worry about politics. The experts have it, right? And by the way, Barack Obama, we can sit here and talk about his legacy. One of his answers to people was, hey, the experts have it, right? And don't worry, the competent people are at the wheel. The whole point, though, is that policy and power are actually fascinating because they change the course of the world. History is fascinating if you actually pay attention to it. It happens that our educational system has been destroyed. We don't talk about how these things work. And also, by the way, our media doesn't get into this stuff whatsoever. It gets into rumors and tabloid stuff. But if you actually talk about how things work, I think, and this comes from my background as an academic and also an optimist, I think younger people are really excited about power because they understand that the rest of their lives is going to be changed by it. I think it's inherently interesting. And I think if you talk about it, and if you talk about it with passion because it's about how the world will change and move along, I think it becomes interesting by itself. I think we've been lied to that it's boring. Thank you. Yeah.
It's a goddamn good answer.
Our next question comes from Oregon.
I don't really have a question.
Oh,
but,
it's more of a soliloquy.
It's just this is that. It's just a comment. I wanted to point out that this community came when Ava needed them, and this community will come if Julian needs us too. Oh. And that's what you've created, Pete. That's who you are. And to segue, or not segue, but to add to your point that here's the neurodivergent part of me. I forgot.
I love it.
Yeah. But it was perfect. I'll remember later and tell somebody.
Well, what you said was perfect by talking about my daughters. It means a lot to me. Pete Coe, by the way, a year ago started a GoFundMe for my daughter. And it made me uncomfortable because I wouldn't have done that, but I didn't do it. He did it because of his generosity of spirit. My daughter, who worked for a year and a half, I don't even know if you know.
I remember this. Yeah.
And got all of her, she gave all of her money away, and he started a GoFundMe, and many of you donated to that, and it's been about a year, and I talked to her about it. I was like, you should come on a show and tell people that you appreciate it. Remind them. But so you already, I don't know if that gave you enough time to think of your other point, Ty, but I really appreciate what you just said. Okay, it's gone.
It'll be back. I'll tell somebody. Don't
2
worry.
months. You'll journal about it in the morning. Whenever it comes back, we will get him back. Thank you very much for what you said. That really means a lot to me. That made me cry a little bit. You saw their names and.
Aww.
Yeah, that's
sweet.
That sucked last year, but
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Kimberly Kelly is, I want to say, and I get it wrong, but Oregon also. Washington State. Oregon.
I am.
I get the Washington State, Oregon people. I lump them in.
I think that's fair. It's a beautiful part of the country.
Fair? I think it's terrible.
Beautiful part of the country.
Kimberly, before your comments, is there really a difference between the states? What is the difference in Oregon and Washington State?
Oh.
So much?
No.
All right then, let's get to it.
Oregon's a smaller version of Washington State.
Oh, how dare you.
Not the right thing for me to say as an Oregonian. But, so my question is, and I heard you say you don't want to predict, but so I'm in my 60th year. And I'm starting to think about end of life, right? Which is, I don't fear dying. Mm-hmm. But what bums me out is I'm not going to know what happens. Yeah. You think about climate change and AI. What is that going to do? All this polarization. Some people becoming more religious, some becoming less. And it's like, I want to go ahead like 200 years or 500 years and look back. So I'm just curious. Again, I know there a million things could happen, but fundamentally, if we look ahead, say 300 years, I'll pick that number, is humanity fundamentally better off, fundamentally worse off, about the same? Like, what would your guess be?
So, first of all, I love this question, and this is the most bourbon talk question imaginable, and I wish I had 30 minutes on this. Okay, so the answer of how to tell the future is to look at the past. Because it's cyclical. It's always, always cyclical. And what you'll notice is, it is always this struggle between democracy and oppression, right? It's always, people are trying to become more free as people are trying to push them down, right? So my idea is this. I think climate change is going to disrupt everything. And I actually think what we're dealing with right now politically, consciously and unconsciously, is a preparation for what's coming. We're going to have limited resources, land is going to shrink. Everything that we've seen with the so-called immigrant crisis is actually just sort of like a test run for what's going to happen with climate refugees, right? And if we don't get this right, it's going to be one of the largest industrial holocausts we've ever seen, which should tell people, this is how this stuff is going to work. My point is this. I think we're going to win this thing. And I think we're going to win this thing because the human spirit is irrepressible. And every time that authoritarianism rears its head, you will notice throughout history, it gets its ass kicked, right? Because there are so few of them. And there are so many of us. But I do want to be honest with you.
We're fucked.
The next few years are going to be tough. And here's the reason why. You brought up AI, you brought up global climate change, right? And when I wrote Midnight Kingdom, I looked at all these cycles. They always come in these sort of like prepackaged things. There's an environmental change, right? There's an economic change. There's a technological change. Radio, TV, printing press, you name it. AI is going to play a role in this. Climate change is going to play a role in this. The labor movement that we're seeing grow right now tells us that there's going to be a battle. And if you go back into the early 20th century, I don't know if people know this history, it's wild. We literally had labor unions fighting armed conflict in the streets in the 20th fucking century.
Yeah, your book does a really good job at re-educating.
Thank you. But the whole point is this. The next few years are going to be stressful and all over the place. We're going to win this thing. But man, is it going to be a hell of a battle before we get there.
Near-term, short-term talk. But can I try to answer your question?
Yeah, please.
Your question is a salient, important question, and I think he answered it. But I'll say it in a different way. I don't think about it. Because I'm just trying to be here.
Yeah, but again, I just want to know how it turns out.
Well, Jared gave you...
How does it turn out?
Can I give you one last thing on that?
Can I tell you, for you, Kimberly, you win lottery next year.
Woo!
I'll get that.
Yeah, before you came in. And you give it all away to needy communities because that's who you are. But it's pretty exciting.
Can I say something?
You do buy a Toyota Corolla for yourself, which... It's weird that you went Japanese.
I would take it. I want to say one last thing on that based on what you just said, because this is actually important. In order for us to make a better future, we also need to understand that we might be in a Moses situation. I'm serious.
I know.
We have to have faith.
You're talking
you know
about
what I mean? We might not see it. And that breaks my heart. I want to see it so bad. I work at it. I fight for it. Yeah. I want to see it. But we need to build something and have faith in something, not a religious, but a spiritual faith that we can build something.
I think that's an important way of saying it, and probably we have remember what she's going to say. I was going to say a good place to close, but I'll go to her. But I fully agree. You might not see it, but the reason I came out to Vegas and the reason what you're saying is but you have purpose. You might not see it. I mean, I feel like John Lewis and all the rest of the civil rights movement talked about it. I might not see it. I mean, MLK made a very famous speech. I might not get to the promised land.
And he didn't.
And he did not. Yep. But that's what you just said.
You have to.
Now, you are back.
I remembered.
And it means that
I might forget real quick.
It means that you're resilient.
I've been told. So you asked, is it worth it? To put yourself out there, to put your family on the line. And it doesn't matter if it's worth it to you or to me or to any of us. It has to happen. Because obviously your kids are resilient. We're raising the generation that is going to see it. Because they're going to make it happen. And the way to do that is exactly this right here. You create a community. People tell their stories. People feel safe. We can disagree. We can do all of that. And we're doing it. So we have hope, when we get here together and meet people and hug them and cry together and...
Can I say something? And by the way, that really touched me.
No. We have to go to commercial.
What you just did, and I want to be very honest about it. I'm not being glib. What you just did is you made yourself very vulnerable in a public space with a bunch of people who do not know you. I
have severe stage fright too.
Me too.
I want to barf so bad.
If you think
I hope you throw. I so want you to throw up right now. It'll be good for our ratings.
I mean,
you know how many people? How many tickets?
Seriously,
Thank you.
This is what I'm saying. I feel safe here. I feel comfortable enough to just. You know, only take 2 glasses of wine too. So
that is the most amazing thing. And
bourbon talk.
And I want to be clear about this. That is the exact opposite of authoritarianism, where you button yourself up and you're terrified of being weak and you're terrified of being judged. And by the way, and here's the entire point, the Republican Party and the MAGA movement and the authoritarian movement, they are not strong. Mm-mm. They're fucking weak. They're terrified. They're brittle. And not only...
This is what terrifies them.
This is what terrifies them, is people being kind to each other and being brave. Yeah. And the entire point of this is that the way to defeat this is not through hatred. It's not even through the ballot box, quite frankly. It's the cleansing of the soul. It's making yourself better.
We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Okay.
Oh, that was awkward. Well said. Well said. And I just want to add to that by thank you.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Yeah. I don't really have much to add to what you said.
Do we have one more?
We have another question.
Oh.
We have another question? Hi.
Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hi.
Absolutely.
Hi, Abigail Hummel. I'm from Florida.
Hi, Abigail.
Oh, I'm familiar with your work. Hi, Abigail.
That's amazing. Thank you, Pete. Hi.
Hi. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you. I'm really excited for tomorrow. So you've both talked a lot about optimism, and I have a lot of respect for optimists. I myself am an aspiring optimist.
That's called a realist.
Yeah, sure, yeah. What would you say to people who are not ready for more tough years?
Oh, welcome. I would say you are not alone because of your age. I would say I'm sorry because it was not your fault. Yet.
Thank you.
It will be.
You.
If you don't do anything, it will be. I will say, because I know you, the hope lies in your father. I mean that. He's a great man.
I agree.
And I will finally say that the answer to your question is resilience. I didn't have any till 2019. I had none. Learning resilience is really important. I won't make assumptions about you because you're a woman or something, but, I think the answer is resilience. I think the answer is strap in. Get ready. Don't be soft. I would imagine you're not. But I was, and it sucked being so soft. So I had to learn resilience. The answer is resilience. That's my answer. I don't know if it's right, but it's a tough question.
I thought I was strong before all this happened. I was so weak. I was always a day or an hour away of falling into what would eventually become the alt-right. And then when all of this happened to me, what I discovered was that there was a well within me that could handle things that I did not think that I could handle. I'll say this, take breaks and start discovering the things that replenish you.
Yes,
what are the things in the world? What are the things in the world that you love?
Amen.
And what are the things in the world that you would be willing to die for?
Yes.
Sort those out from the minor things. The things that, and I'm sorry to make this what it is, the things that make you money or the things that keep you getting out of bed every day because you have to. Find the things that you want to protect from the fire. Find the things that you want to cherish and hold. And I just want to end this with a metaphor. There were a few years back where I went on this big hike into the wilderness. I couldn't even tell you how many miles I hiked into the wilderness and got a tent. And I started hiking out of the wilderness and I was like, I can't go on, but the choice was you lay down and die in the wilderness, right? And then you take a break and you take a breath and then you move forward and eventually you find yourself on the other side of the wilderness. Take breaks, take a breath, take time off when you need to take time off. I hate to tell you this, the days are going to get hard. They're already really hard. They're going to get harder. But what you are going to find is that you are going to find your purpose and you are going to find your direction and you're going to find out what really matters to you. And you're going to make it to the other side of the forest because we're all going to make it to the other side of the forest.
That's the optimism we've been waiting for. Thank you, Abigail.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have your generation's interest involved.
Hey, can I be real for a second?
No, we're out of time.
Well, I know, but as we end, I'm grateful for your friendship. Aww. You know that? And I want to be very clear. You've assembled a motley crew of people. And you're all beautiful, don't get me wrong, just in your own ways.
You should get closer to Pico and you get very close.
But look what you've created, and also look at like how beautiful like your energy is that you've created here. It's wonderful. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you. You're welcome. I don't know how to respond.
You have to deflect it, but I have to be genuine.
You have to deflect. When people say the kindest things to you and the most generous thing, and to me, starting out as a comedian,
sure,
all I wanted was to make people laugh, to make a living doing what I loved.
Sure.
That was it.
But look what you've done now.
So sometimes people say really super nice things to you. Why did I just become Elon Musk?
Are you taking ketamine? What's happening here?
Listen. Sometimes people are really thoughtful to you, and
that's your Musk.
Yeah.
Is that your Elon Musk?
I think I'm workshopping it, but I think
it needs some help.
Really? I thought it was nailing it. So somebody Don Lemon. Whites are better.
You're getting there. Yeah, you're getting there. That's close.
I don't. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And thank you. And anything else? All right. We're good. We're good. Did you have a question, Nick? Were you good?
No.
Okay.
He's got pizza.
Are you a Giants fan? Do you have food? One more round of applause for Jared for coming all the way to Vegas. He'll be here with his co-host at 4 p.m. tomorrow for the Muckrake podcast. I thank you. I adore you. I appreciate you. You're the right person for the moment. I'm so happy that you are here. I'll follow you close to the edge. When we get to it, I'll push you. And I'll live. And then I'll collect your royalties. Because you're a better man than me.
I love you, buddy.
I love you too. Jared Yates Sexton. He's going to hang out. Oh, look at that. And I just want to say, and as we'll go hang out. None of this would happen without Cassie and her husband, Mike. To your point, to me, people say nice things to me. I always want to say to everybody here that each person that's here, especially these hardcore folks who came all the way here, they have so many qualities that I follow. I'm a follower. I've always been a follower. I'm not a leader. It's weird. People don't think that. It's true. Everybody here has something that I admire. I've already mentioned, he started a fund for my daughter. I hope that I can do that for. But Cassie, her generosity of spirit may be unparalleled. I've met a lot of generous people. There are a lot of them here. It's really, really inspiring to me. It makes me want to be like her, and she won't take this well. I don't even know where she is, but I love you and I appreciate you. None of this would happen without you. One more round of applause for her. Jared Yates Sexton, thank you very much. And everybody else, everybody here is contributing something. Thank you. Let's go drink and start music.
Well, there you go. That's how it sounded on Friday night in Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas. Thank you again to Cassie Rice. We'll be playing more. I'll be sharing more of it throughout the week and online. So please follow me on all the social medias. Write a rating and review of the podcast so we can grow it. We can grow our community. We can bring more amazing, kind, generous, thoughtful, hilarious, so many very, very funny people into our community, and we can do PodJam 2 and 3 and all the rest. Love you guys. Jon Carroll, you are the best. If you haven't bought this song, go to joncarroll.org. He performed it for us live, and I'll share that version as well. It was simply amazing. I've got plenty in store to talk about everything that happened. You're going to get sick of it or not, because we all just want to relive it, those of us that were there. Let's do it. John, take us away. I got to crawl back under the sheets.
Keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. We got to rise up. off of your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience. Well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says